Benedictum right here on your classic metal show from their Dominion release, one of our favorite tunes, Bang! And it's been a long time since I've heard from Veronica. I know that you sporadically speak to her. When was the last time you talked to her, Chris?
Me personally, about 2 weeks ago, I guess. I talk to her every so often about work stuff and her life and relationship stuff and all her shit. But she mostly deals with my son. She's my son's client. So
Right.
My son deals with her far more than I do.
Yeah, I literally have not heard from her, and boy, it's probably been close to a year.
No. No, she I talk to her every now and again. She's fine. She's doing her thing.
And what is that thing that she does? I mean, obviously Benedictum as the band,
right,
really put out some pretty strong records.
Yeah.
It's a shame that minus the COVID bullshit going on today, that they couldn't just keep it together and be able to do something, because she's a talented front woman, and Pete, talented guitarist, and they write some great songs, and they had some good music. And it's just like they, obviously in this environment, in today's world of promotion and whatnot, they were kind of a little late to the game, I guess.
Yeah. There's talk. I've heard that there is talk, and there's talk of her doing some more solo stuff and blah, 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 blah. I don't respond to anybody's talk anymore.
No, of course not. Why would you?
Yeah. Just do it. When I'm holding a CD, then I get an email that says, "Hey, check out this song. It's our new tune." Then I'll say, "Hey, Benedictum's doing something."
Yeah, there you go. It's not like, well, we're going to. It's like, yeah, well, I'll believe it when I have it in my hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, believe me. I was starting to wonder about Bob Leather with Scars, because we're working on something there. And then Bob Leather threw me, all the tracks to get to Billy, and I made an appointment with Billy to go to his studio to record my song. And dude, how ridiculous is this? My stupid song is going to be on a CD that's actually released by a record company.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but they did a great job with the music. I got the musical track to it, and it's interesting because it's really interesting to hear different people's take on, I handed them, the shitty demo that we did of Scars.
Yeah, of course.
The original one, the electric one. And they worked it around to, it's more like, I mean, my vocal thing will still be pretty similar to what it was, but the actual arrangement is more like Stone Temple Pilots than Jan from Finland.
Right.
It's definitely it's going to be a little bit of a different sounding thing, but the music sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, as far as how things are done differently with different musicians or different producers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Our good friend Sammy Lee from Red Rain. Yeah. They're working on some new music after 5 years. And, they worked with producer David Ivory on their EP that they released a few years back already.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working, they're going to potentially work with a new producer.
Okay.
And that new producer took one of the tracks that was already produced by David Ivory.
Okay.
And he produced it the way he heard it.
And have you heard it?
Yeah, he sent it to me.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
All right.
But totally different, and in a good way. It was like, wow, this thing really has a punch you in the face vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it really is amazing how one's perception or ear hears different things than other people hear.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the producers and whatnot, people who do different mixes and things, some people have a certain thing that they have better than others.
Sure.
You
Well,
know,
it's interesting that they went that direction, because that's what you and I both said when we first heard the Red Rain the David Ivory stuff. We were like, what happened to the balls? We liked
Yeah.
it. I don't want to speak for you, but I liked the demo
yeah, I agree.
better.
It was raw.
Yeah, it was much more rugged than the slicked Hailstorm guy doing Hailstorm sound on Red Rain.
Right.
You know,
So he sent me a track that this new guy, I'm not gonna get into their business, but he sent me a track
right?
that was done by their new producer, and it was just like, wow, that's a huge difference, because the layers
Mm-hmm.
in the music is like way different.
Right.
And it was just like, that's a huge difference. Same song, same musicians,
Sure.
same recording. It's just how they mix it and produce it that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And truthfully, not in their case, but in my case with Scars, having much, much, much better musicians is going to make a huge difference as well. I mean, not that Jan couldn't play guitar, but these are guys that were all in 80s bands,
Right.
the drummer, the bassist, and the guitar player.
Mhm.
So it's a much more, believe me, my biggest fear is what the fuck is Billy going to do with me, with all these guys that are actual professionals, and then there's going to be me singing. It's like, Jesus. But Bob Leather, Tommy Crash swears up and down that as long as I stay in key, he can make it sound good. So,
Well, I'm sure they can,
so
but it's just fun to be included in something like that.
it is. It is. It's definitely, dude. I was gonna do it last week, but my voice was a little bit shitty, and I'm being a fucking diva now. Now I'm acting like every other fucking lead singer. I'm like, my throat's not quite there today. I'm gonna wait another week. It's like I should be doing it fast before they change their mind and have somebody else sing it. Somebody that can actually sing.
Well, again, I've had that experience as well. Obviously, I was able to sing gang vocals on Dawkins' Lightning Strikes Again, the
Right.
Sunset Superstar. Not that there's anything distinguishable about the vocals in that,
Right.
but I literally walked in, Don, like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Put these headphones on because I need you to sing backup gang vocals on this song. It's like, I'm not a singer. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'll make it sound good.
Yeah.
And all I had to sing, he goes, now I'm going to play the song through, listen to it. All I need you to do is sing Sunset Superstar.
Right.
That's all I need you to do. And that's what I did.
Right.
And it ended up on the record. And it was just like, okay, that was cool.
Can you pick yourself out?
No, of course not.
No, I was just curious if you.
No, there's nothing distinguishable about it at all.
Yeah.
But I was part of the mix.
Right.
That's all that matters. And it was like, wow, that was kind of cool. But boy, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, be honest with your ego. You tried to pick yourself out, though, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. I tried to listen for something. I tried to listen to something, but
Right.
there wasn't really anything that what I would say that, oh, there's me.
Right.
No, of course not. There's nothing there. It's just a gang vocal. That's all it is.
Dude, it's so funny because I don't think either one of us are really, super egocentric as far as this kind of stuff. But I would be absolutely lying if I said that when Nalbandian sent me the movie this week, that I didn't watch it once just to see my segments and then actually watch it to appreciate it.
Well, that's kind of funny that you brought that up, because that's exactly what I was leading into.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's exactly why I was
Nice.
getting into this.
Okay.
So you're very perceptive.
Nice.
So our good friend Bob Nalbandian, and Bob, if
Mhm.
you're listening to the show, you're welcome to call in. Bob sent both Chris and I the link to get a pre-review of the Godfathers of Thrash. Is that what it's called?
The Bay Area Godfathers.
Bay Area Godfathers. Okay. It's going to be out October 6th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, October 6th. If you're a fan of the Inside Metal releases, you will really like this. Now, mind you, I've watched every one of these that Bob
Me
has
too.
put out, and this by far is the best one.
I think so too. Yeah.
And the reason why is I think
Chris Aiken is in it. That's why.
well, regardless of that, and I'm in that. I'm in one small segment. You're in. I think you're in three.
Yeah.
I think there's three segments.
There's three.
And
Yeah.
I'm in one short segment. But
Yep.
regardless of that, and it's not because of that, I think the way that they did this one was really done really well. And I wanted to expound on the reason why I looked at this and I really enjoyed it the most.
Right.
The people who were involved with this new one that's forthcoming, and believe me, this has been a long time in coming. What was this, like 3 years ago?
I did my video parts three summers ago. So
Yeah,
it's more than that.
Yeah, it's been a long time in coming.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like the most, and I'm going to have to give credit to the guys from what is it? Who's the guys who put this together?
Reality Check TV.
Yeah, Reality Check TV.
Right.
They included a lot of cool stuff like
Right.
marquees and flyers and advertisements for things that took place 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got all this material from, but anytime somebody, whether it was you or, you know, you're
Eric Peterson or whoever,
whenever they mentioned, well, we opened for blah, 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 they would throw up a flyer
from that gig. It was
from
crazy.
that gig. And it was just like, wow, that's fucking cool. Somebody still had that flyer to where they
and it wasn't like it was like Metallica. Some of them were like Sonic so-and-so with Hex opening or what, you know, it was no name bands or bands that didn't make it, but they had these flyers. It was insane.
Yeah, it was. And that's what impressed me the most, is that they had this archival shit that they threw in every time somebody mentioned something that, hey, we opened up at the Stone for blah, blah, blah.
Right.
There was the flyer for the thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where did you get that? Who had all of it? Who saved all this stuff?
Right.
You know, and they put it up there, and it was like, yeah, we were doing this, that, and the other with this band or this group or whatever, and they had some kind of documentation to show that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I was just like, wow, that's amazing. Because a lot of that stuff ends up just getting shit canned. And nobody ever remembers it. It's just lost to memory, more or less.
Right.
But they had stuff to document it, you know, and whoever, you know, had all this stuff to contribute to the video or to the documentary, it's like, wow, that was amazing. So this Bob and John Stranansky, they and again, it was kind of funny because I never went to the San Francisco scene, and I know you were out there for a short time.
Sure.
But they were out at those different locations where those clubs used to be.
Right.
You know, and showing the buildings. It's like, yeah, this used to be, you know, whatever it was, but now it's like a storefront for some other business or something.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, this was like a really active scene, and this was the club here, but it's obviously no longer this or that, the other. So the building still remains, but obviously the club or the venue or whatever else, it's gone.
Right.
You know, so, you know, seeing that on the video was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Are you bringing Bob in on this?
I'm here. He's connected to you.
I see that. Well, Bob, we're we're worshiping your genius,
as you should,
in the work that you've done. And I appreciate the fact that you threw Chris and I both a link to see this thing. I watched it twice because I was so enamored with it.
Same.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's 2 more times than most people will watch it.
No, seriously, dude. Of all your documentaries that you've done so far, this one was really the best one. And I don't know if it was because of the footage or it was because of the editing or whatever it is, but I was really impressed with the historic aspect of it.
Well, it keeps getting better and better, I guess. That's a good sign to hear. And I really got to give credit to my team on this one. We had a whole new team for the Inside Metal titles. Danny Shipman did the editing, and him with Reality Check TV, with Hugh, who did the master editing from Reality Check. But they had so much great footage from the Bay Area because they've got a Bay Area cable show they've been doing since, I think, 1989 or 1990, early 90s. So they had so much killer footage. And Danny was so helpful, as was John Stranansky, both my co-producers. You know, John hooked me up with a lot of the Bay Area people, and we both did a lot of interviews together. Danny did some interviews, but, you know, his editing and the footage, I agree with you. I think it definitely added to it. And, you know, it was a great storyline. It really follows how, you know, the whole formula of, you know, the previous Inside Metal movies, LA titles, just, you know, we did it to the Bay Area. You know, as you know, we had the 3 different movies for LA. We kind of combined them all into one for this Bay Area, starting with, you know, the mid to late 70s, going on from Yesterday and Today, and you know, talking to Mike Varney and all these people that were pre, you know, the metal scene of the Bay Area, pre Metallica, so to speak. And then it goes to, you know, Metallica's first time going into the Bay Area, and it covers the whole spectrum, not just the thrash. You know, we wanted to cover the whole metal scene of the Bay Area because it was so much more than just thrash metal. So, you know, we did that, you know, with bands like from Vain to Heathen to Vicious Rumors to Law's Rocket to Stone Vengeance. I mean, a lot of bands that, you know, a lot of people may not have known, but were huge components of the Bay Area metal scene. So, you know, just want to give props out to all the people that were involved. You know, as I mentioned, Danny, Hugh, and of course, John Stranansky, and all the great photographers that contributed photos. And yeah, man, I'm really glad you guys like it.
Oh, dude, I was really, I sat there just mesmerized. I sat there just watching it. And I really appreciate the art, you know, the artistic end of how you put together, sew together all the pieces and parts and whatnot. And I like the fact that when anybody commented on anything, there was backup for it. It's like, yeah, I remember, I think it was blah, 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 so-and-so, and we were playing with so-and-so, and sure as shit, there's a flyer to show that. And it was like, yeah, I guess that really did happen. It wasn't lost to memory. It was, this actually happened. Look, there's a flyer to prove that.
Yeah, you know, that it really clicked on this one, I think. You know, it's always fun kind of putting it together because, I mean, you got so many hours worth of material, and putting it together is like putting together a puzzle to make all the comments flow together. And like you say, sometimes one comment will answer the others, or one photo will answer it. And we had, you know, so much great material. Ron Quintana, who's like the king of the Bay Area metal scene, had flyers from pretty much every show from the late 70s on through, you know, the mid 90s that happened in the Bay Area, every metal show. So he just gave us, you know, access to his archives and said, you know, use any of the flyers you need to. So we had that at our disposal. And as I mentioned, Danny and Reality Check TV had a bunch of great footage for that. So it really clicked, but putting it together, it was a little bit easier for me to kind of piece the quotes together. And then of course, Danny was great at seeing how the quotes, if the quotes were a little long-winded, like, I might, put a note of it might be a little long-winded quote, and he would cut it into 2 quotes and make it follow, maybe 2 quotes further in the story, and still make it flow well. So we had a really good team, but it really clicked in putting this together, because it seemed like everyone kind of they were all on the same page in talking about the scenes. So it flowed really well. Yeah, I do agree with you.
When you saw that Get Thrashed was getting released, and I did watch that. I watched that one as well. And were you concerned that they were kind of stepping on your territory, or did you think that there was enough?
Well, for some reason, Bob can't hear you, Chris.
Oh, well, then I'll just jump out and let you two talk.
Yeah, I can't hear Chris at all.
Then go ahead, Neeley.
Well, can you throw Bob a link? Is that?
You know why? Because I'm calling you directly, Neeley.
All right.
I'll Bob, you want to come into the StreamYard?
I think, I thought that might happen.
Do you want to come into the StreamYard, Bob?
You want to send me a link to that?
Yeah. Chris will send you a link. So check your email. Check your email, and Chris will send you a link, and you can click on it and just jump on.
Okay, I'll get off Skype now and get into StreamYard.
All right, so jump off Skype. Chris and I will talk, and he'll send you a link, and we'll get back to it.
Perfect.
All right. So anyway, yes, as Bob was saying, that everybody kind of, cooperated with this. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs and the backstory. Only Bob knows that, because he's the producer.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they put this together, that they obviously interviewed so many different people about their recollection of that scene.
Right.
But they literally had to go back, listen to everybody's comment, and then they found a comment that somebody else made that was similar to to the previous person.
Right.
And that next comment that they added kind of dovetailed into the next person's comment. You know what I mean? It was like, It was like a continuous conversation is what it was.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And forget being in it. I mean, that's cool. That's great. It's humbling to be in it, but just as a fan, it was so cool to hear some of this insight from these different guys. It's one thing to be a fan of, I don't know, Testament or Megadeth or whatever. It's a whole nother thing to hear how they got into the music that they were creating. And dude, it really is. I guess it's not surprising how much influence Metallica had, but I mean, every single one of those guys said, that it was, it was Metallica that showed them the way.
Yeah. And of course, Metallica, kind of started off in the LA scene and migrated north.
Right.
And they put their stamp on that. And who else kind of surprised me? And again, this was something I didn't know.
Who's that?
Was how Motley Crue played so much in the area. Because our good friend Leather Leone, she mentioned them, and a lot of other people mentioned how Motley Crue came up and played in that scene a lot. Yeah. And it was just like, I didn't realize how much Motley played in the Bay Area. Yeah.
I never saw them up there, but they were already huge by the time I got there. So, but yeah, I guess early on, they at least practiced what they preached and went out there and, traveled, because that is a travel to go from LA to San Francisco.
It's close to 500 miles between LA and San Francisco. So
that's a full day drive.
It is. But yeah, and the other one that doesn't match what you call the Bay Area thrash scene was one of your favorites, and I like these guys, but I know you're a big fan, is Vane.
Yeah,
You know, Davey Vane and the band Vane, they're not exactly thrash metal band.
No, not really. No.
But somehow, some way, they were very influential in that scene. They were somehow, obviously, Bob interviewed Davey Vane, and he had a lot of insight and talked about, his band and working with a bunch of different people and so on and so forth. But, when I think about Vane, I think, not
glam.
Yeah, again, I don't know a lot about them, but I think more of the LA glam scene than I think of the Bay Area thrash scene.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, Vane was very accepted as a legitimate hard rock band, I guess.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, they were, and the story about Lemmy actually giving them cred was really a cool story. Actually, that was a cool story. The story when he was talking about he was with Lemmy and people were making fun of him, and Lemmy basically told him to shut the fuck up. That was a cool story.
Oh, it's about getting laid, man.
It was a good story.
It was a good story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned a lot from watching the documentary this week, and the rest of you who have any interest in that kind of thing, you'll be able to see it October 6th.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Yeah, because it'll be available through various outlets like Amazon and just different
Amazon, Apple, anywhere that you get videos, I guess.
Yeah, but out of all the Inside Metal releases so far, this one here was one of the ones that I was just like, wow, this was really well done.
Yeah. And like I said at the beginning, it never gets old. It never gets old seeing our name. Look, I'm still excited when I see our name in a credit.
Well, Bob was really generous with throwing us in there and making us a special thank you at the very end of the credit.
Yeah.
Putting your name, my name, and the Classic Metal Show in there. So that was very cool. We finally got Bob back with us.
I'm a technical genius. I figured it out. I like to switch computers here.
Nice.
Well, Bob, you're always laid back. I mean, where are you hanging out these days?
Oh, well, I'm just like sitting on my bed. That's why I got my I usually sit on my office chair, but I'm lazy these days. I'm just chilling.
You're as bad as both Chris and I. We talk about laying in our beds and watching our big screen TVs in our bedroom and not even leaving our bedroom all day long. And there you are. You're just, world famous producer Bob Nalbandian, just hanging out, chilling, listening to the show. So, Bob, we both Chris and I give your new documentary 2 thumbs up, as Siskel and Ebert would say. 2 thumbs up.
All right, and that's only part 1. Wait till you see part 2. Part 2 really gets into the grittiness of the Bay Area. We talk a little bit about a lot more about the scene, the debauchery. We get into the individual bands, the Exodus, Death Angel. Y&T, Laws Rocket, get into the nitty gritty, as they say. So that should be coming out soon. I think Warren plans on separating the 2 movies a little bit further, since a lot of the previous Inside Metal titles confuse a lot of people. They kind of came out close together and they didn't realize there was a part 2.
Right.
It's a little bit confusing that way, but I think it'll work better this way. And as you know, the movie got delayed for so many months because of the COVID thing and everything, and we had to cancel. We were going to set the summer for the screenings. I know Chris was planning on coming to the big one that we had set up in San Francisco, and that was back in March, I think that was set up for. So
it's March 29th, Bob. Not that those $1,200 that I didn't get back aren't.
You never got it back? You don't need those fuckers?
No, the fucking airline told me to go fuck myself.
Jesus. Well, most people tell you to fuck yourself, but you should at least get a refund.
Well, Bob, I wanted to ask you, the movie Get Thrashed came out fairly recently,
Now, that was an old movie, but
Was it?
For some reason, it's all over, because I see that on my Amazon Prime popping up all the time now. Recently, I don't know if it's because of this demand with all these other thrash movies coming out and whatever, but that movie was done, back in I want to say late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was an old movie, and that was one of the original ones. It was Rick Ernst, I think. He used to shoot for a Headbangers Ball, and he did a real good job. And considering that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it, but I have to say, and I'm gonna be honest, I went into watching your movie thinking, oh man, this is gonna be a lot of the same shit, because it's the same topic kind of, but it really wasn't. His was more almost like historical, where yours was a lot more stories of the time, which I loved. I mean, other than wondering how much money you owe Eric Peterson because he was in every other scene of this movie, it just really, really, as somebody that was there, it really took me back to being there, which I think is translatable. And Neeley, you can answer this. For people that weren't there, you could really draw a nice picture of what exactly was going on during that time.
Well, I'm going to agree with that. And I like the fact that, it wasn't all specifically thrash, because, and we were talking about this before you jump back in there, Bob, about Davey Vane being, kind of a very integral part of that scene, as well as Dave Meniketti and Y&T, because they certainly aren't thrash bands, but they still had a big following, or they were part of that scene, even though they weren't part of the Exoduses and the Testaments and the Lost Rocket genre, if you will. But for some reason, they were accepted in that, in that grouping, I guess.
Yeah. What's interesting with Davey Vane, because, he produced the Death Angel albums, the original Death Angel albums. He worked with Kirk Hammett early on. And so he was kind of a part of that, being in a glam band. They look like a Hollywood glam band, Vane, I mean, even more so than the Hollywood bands if you see their early pictures. Sure. So it was interesting how, and that's discussed a lot in this movie and part two as well. And it may seem a little bit lopsided on quotes if you just see part one, but if you see both part one and part two, it's a little bit, more leveled out as far as the quotes and the storyline goes. But, they talk about in detail how, even though San Francisco was all about, kill the posers, kind of, the glam bands were kind of the enemies. Deep down inside, they were all, not fans, but they were friends. A lot of these bands would show up to the shows, and I think the guys in Exodus, they joked around about, they would see people in a Rad or a Dawkins shirt, and then they'd go home and they would listen to the guitar playing of Warren DeMartini or George Lynch, going, "Man, this is awesome!" So it was kind of, I think it was more the whole image thing that they stressed upon as the poser mentality. But as far as the actual players in the scene, and everyone worked hard, they know that they were all a part of the work. It wasn't like anything came real easy to all these bands back in those days. They had to gig, they had to fight for the good gigs, they had to compete, and it was sometimes a heavy competition to get those good shows. So everyone fought for it. I think people respected all those bands. Like, they talk about even bands like Head On and other bands. There was a mutual respect, even though they might not have hung out with the thrash bands, that was like, hey, you guys are cool. You come to our party, we come to yours, Right. So, it was that kind of thing. I think maybe I know LA might have been a little bit different, and maybe some other cities were a little bit different, but I think there was much more of a camaraderie from what people talk about in the Bay Area amongst the musicians than maybe other scenes. So
sure. Bob, how much did you have to learn? Because I know you're like an LA guy. Did you have to learn a lot about the scene, or did you just kind of rely on, Quintana and Stranansky to kind of carry you through?
No, not at all. Ron, supplied a lot of, like you said, a lot of the flyers and all the stuff, which really tied in the movie together. And like you said, it makes it like, oh, okay, gives a person a little visual thing. Okay, these bands did play together at Ruthie's Inn. I knew about all this stuff. I was, back then, you were pen pals, in the early 80s. I was pen pals with all these guys. So they sent me all the stuff. I was familiar with a lot of the bands and a lot of other bands that had albums out, like a Broke His Helm and other Bay Area bands, Griffin. So all the old Shrapnel stuff, I was into it when it first came out. So I knew of all the bands, and I didn't know a lot of these guys personally. John Stranansky, he came out from Dallas a few times during the stay here and during the recording of the interviews, and he got me in touch with a lot of these guys. But no, I mean, to answer your question, I knew pretty much. There's obviously a lot of stories I didn't know, but dude, I'm a metalhead. I know everything metal. Come on, it doesn't matter where, LA, San Francisco.
Right.
No, I'm pretty well rounded. I'm pretty, I did learn a lot from those guys, and thankfully, we had Danny and John who were able to get in contact with these guys and do a lot of the interviews.
Sure.
Well, I want to apologize to you, Bob, for Chris's ignorance and, insulting you in metal intelligence. Even though you allowed him to be a linchpin in your movie, regardless if he deserves it or not, he should apologize for his misstep.
Yeah, that'll happen.
No apologies.
Bob, I will say the one thing I didn't think, if there's one area I thought you did not go far enough in, and I would be willing to bet if you would have pushed these guys, they all would have said more, and I wish I would have said something about it too. Ruthie's Inn was straight up dangerous to see a show in.
Yeah.
Ruthie's was scary, man. And I mean, people sort of touched on it, like the Exodus guys talking about, yeah, you get hurt at Ruthie's Inn, and it wasn't the best looking club in the world. Somebody said something like that. It wasn't the best looking club, but you could see a good show there. Ruthie's, Jesus Christ, that place reminded me of Roadhouse with Jeff Buckley playing, with shit flying all the time and bottles being thrown. Ruthie's was a dangerous room.
There were no rules there.
But it was great. I mean, you could see I saw the organization there once. The Death Angel without
this was like in the 90s then.
Yeah, right in the early night, like 1990 maybe.
Okay.
And whew, man, I got the living hell beat out of me at that show, but it was fun. It was,
right.
I mean, I was 20 years old or whatever, so it was just a ton of fun to be there. But yeah, I was very happy to see that everything didn't just get stuck on the Stone, the Omni, and the Waldorf, because there were a lot of other cool places down there. And Ruthie's was definitely one of the cooler places, even though if I had to guess, it probably got shut down by a fire marshal because it just never felt safe there at all.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it closed down, but there is a talk, I believe Mike Coons from Lost Rocket and Adam Segan are talk about how, anything went at Ruthie's, and it was kind of, and it is, mentioned a few times how it was a dangerous club. And that became, I think when thrash became real big, the Stone and, the Stone and the Omni, they would take on a lot of national bands coming across. And then, Ruthie's became known as the thrash, especially when, the scene started, with Violence and Possessed and all the, second tier bands, whatever, Forbidden, that went into through the 90s, it became all about Ruthie's Inn.
Right. Yeah.
For the thrash fans.
And it was interesting because, like, the Stone, for people that don't remember that place, that was the place that had money. So that was like the nicer club, because then they had like three of them, right? There wasn't just
there was three. Berkeley, Palo Alto, and San Francisco.
Yeah. So they had money because they were, you know, they had 3 times the funds coming in. The Omni seemed to me to be more of like a grittier club, but it was where all the rock stars like to go and hang. That's where I met most of the people that I met were at the Omni.
Right.
And then Ruthie's was that, well, let's just go and fucking risk our life to, you know, to see a good show. I saw several thrash bands, and probably the biggest one I ever saw. This was probably 89, maybe, was Anthrax when they were huge, played at Ruthie's with I forget who it was, but it was like it was like some no-name band, but like 2 of the guys were Exodus guys. So it was, I don't remember. It was just some project they were doing or something. And, you know, I don't remember what it was. And I know it wasn't Dublin Death Patrol, but it was like 2 of those guys. It might just have been a one-off show that they were doing. Who knows? But man, oh man, some dangerous shit going on at Ruthie's.
Well, they were in dangerous areas too. Ruthie's, and even the Omni was in Oakland.
Yeah, the Omni,
which at the time was a tough place. You know, you had a lot of those kind of clubs in LA area, and those were the clubs. See, the nicer clubs, the Hollywood clubs, would not do the thrash. They would all do the hair metal. They did not want slamming or any kind of stage dives or any of that. So, you know, you had these places, Balboa Theater in fucking Watts. You had Fender's Ballroom in Long Beach, like the real bad area of Long Beach, and you know, clubs downtown, the Olympic Auditorium that did the punk and the thrash bands, and they would have a lot of gangs. You know, the punk gangs come out there, and you know, but they could do it because they were in these kind of shady areas where you know, the cops wouldn't even come. They didn't even, you know. Stuff like that you can't do. I'm seeing quotes coming in here.
That's because we got active chyrons there, Bob. So
wow, look at you guys, all so sophisticated.
You know how dangerous Eddie Trunk is, but he certainly isn't as dangerous as you, Bob.
Well, according to Jerry C, he's not.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
No, yeah, dude, we you know, I'll somewhat speak for Neeley here, but you know, we all 3 really enjoyed the movie a lot, man. You know, I'm sure you did, but Neeley and I both really, and I know you know I did, because as soon as I was done watching it, I called you, and then me and you were on the phone for like 2 hours talking about it. So
cool, man. Yeah, the response has been great so far. We got Chipster doing the PR, and he's kicking ass, getting a lot of interviews set up. And
well, I've gotten 3 emails from Chipster so far about promoting your thing, so I know they're on the job.
Well, good. I told them that I'd probably be coming on your show. So yeah, you know, it's a lot of fun doing these, a lot of work, but you know, again, we had a good team behind us on this one, and you know, we'll see what goes from there. But I'm excited to get part 2 out as well, because like I said, that sometimes, you know, part 2 and turns out to be the better one, because not necessarily the better one, but the more exciting of the 2 parts, because we get a lot more into you know, the real grit of the scene on part 2. So
well, it's been a long time in coming, Bob, because I know you basically started this over 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you were at the original screening at the NAMM at the Pat Gesualdo's Hall of Heavy Metal History, the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, as it's called now. I got to get used to that. We did that back in January. So, and that was when we had just finished part 1. We just got a good rough edit of that. So, you know, we're talking 8 months later, you know, we've just been on hold with it, you know? So, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating time wise, but you know, it is what it is. So, you know, like I said, we had planned to do screenings all throughout summer, and of course that all got canceled. So, you know, we already had the release date set. It's like, all right, well, you know, gotta wait, but time has been good. We're, I mean, as far as releasing it now, I think it's a good time, and people are still indoors, so they'll hopefully be streaming a lot. Once it comes out next week, it should be out on Amazon, Google Play, all the iTunes or Apple Music, whatever they call it now. So
everybody's at home. Half the country's not watching sports. This is a perfect time for you.
Yeah. So I agree.
Well, let me ask you something, Bob. Obviously, one of the biggest events of the year for the people who are into the whole music thing. Obviously, NAMM canceled for 2021. And any thoughts on that? I mean, that's kind of a big event to be canceled.
Well, I figured it would be, and all the major conventions are being canceled. I think they're trying to do some kind of online experience, but of course that's not going to work.
You can't beat 5 floors of NAMM. I mean, it takes days to get through that thing. I mean, if I didn't have you as
the experience is meeting everyone. I mean, most people are there for the social experience.
Of course it is.
To be honest, actually meeting people in person, which is something we used to do back in the day. It's kind of an old school mentality now. So I guess, but obviously it still matters because NAMM has been building every year, and it's a shame. It's just a shame with a lot of the conventions, and I remember all those old Foundations forums and all the old industry conventions. I know you went to a lot of the old CMJs up in New York there, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And they had so many of those South by Southwest in Austin, of course, but all those are going to be canceled. So it's not just NAMM, it's just not just music conventions. I mean, everything is just the way it is. But so I mean, I'm kind of sad about it. Am I disappointed? It's kind of like, well, I knew, I figured it wouldn't happen this year. So, but just gonna have to stay home and jack off, I guess.
Well, I know, obviously I've hooked up with you on numerous NAMMs over the last 5 or 6 years. And, this past NAMM back in January of this year, they even opened up an additional wing of that Anaheim Convention Center, which was a whole new wing. And it was there's 4 floors, and then there's an additional wing on top of that. It's massive. That's
I don't know if you noticed, you and I, in some of the other hotels, they have rooms, display rooms as well. So it keeps growing and growing. And, but I do remember going up to that other wing. I think we met some of the guys in, was it DO Disciples or
it was Last in Line?
Yeah, that's right. Last in Line.
Yeah.
Same thing.
How dare I get them confused?
Yeah, it says, holy shit, we're going to another part of this building to go see some more stuff.
It's that's why they have it for 3-4 days. It takes that long just to see everything.
It really does. It's really massive. It is a massive undertaking. And just to think that, this is, and again, the money, obviously the money that's generated from this with all the sponsors and the people who display there and whatnot that's a massive loss. But holy shit, until you go to NAMM and experience it with the tour guide known as Bob Nalbandian, it's an experience that you'll never forget.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss it this January, but it is what it is. What could you do?
Nothing. You just sit home and jack off, as you said.
Yeah, that's right.
There are tons of Fleshlight orders out there as we speak.
PlayTimeForYou.com, baby.
Hey,
Paul Fink giving you the plug there.
There you go. And Bob's already in bed with laptop. He's ready.
I am. I'm switching right over to that, man. I got Pornhub queued up on my site coming up next. So I hope I don't get an early start on that. You guys might get a little surprise.
No, please, we don't want that, Bob.
Well, Bob, we both Chris and I agree. We really enjoyed the latest Inside Metal release, which is out October 6th. And Chris and I did not have to be prompted by Chipster PR to talk about it, because we both really did enjoy it quite a bit.
All right. Well, definitely check out the actual DVDs. Going to have some cool bonus footage. I always, it's always good to get the physical product, and we will have that available at Amazon and, anywhere, Walmart, Best Buy. You could order it online at all the regular DVD places. So it should be readily available through MVD distribution.
Cool.
Very good. All right, Bob. Well, you're always welcome on the show. That's a given. But anybody who's interested in the documentaries and the DVDs and the streaming music documentaries, October 6th is the Bay Area Godfathers, right? Is that the name of it?
That is correct. You said it correctly this time.
I said it correctly this time. I always get confused. But anyway, I watched it twice. Chris watched it twice. It's really a good documentary. I really liked it a lot. And you'll get to see a little cameo of me and Chris in there a couple times. And but overall, from a historic standpoint, and people who could tell the story and give their true recollection, I think you'll really enjoy that quite a bit.
Well, I always appreciate it. I'm really glad you guys are happy with it. You guys have always been so helpful in promoting the all the Inside Metal titles, as well as Band vs. Brand. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think your listeners will all dig it. So I suggest you all check it out, October 6th.
There you go.
All right, Bob or Chris, I think a band that is not thrash, but got featured prominently in this documentary is Vane. Either one of you got a Vane request?
Well, I know Chris is the big Vane fan, so I'll hand it over to him.
Yeah, I love the big vein, Bob.
Just like Steven Tyler handed it over to Davey Vane.
Right.
Handed over the dildo to Davey Vane.
Exactly.
You do the honors.
Play the last track on the first album.
No Respect?
No Respect. The last track is like We're Ready or Ready for Love or something.
It's called Ready.
Yeah. Play that one. That's a good fast one.
All right. Well, we'll play some Vane, so go check it out. Brand new documentary coming your way on all your streaming outlets, and October 6th. So it's good stuff. Take it from Chris, Bob, and myself. So here's Davey Vane, who's prominently featured in this documentary with Ready exclusively here. What, Bob?
On your classic metal show.